Hello, welcome to Mr. Paul's Pantry. I'm Mr. Paul, and if you're new here, a very, very warm welcome. If you're a returning visitor, nice to see you here again. Now, today's recipe is something that's been requested many, many times, and for some unknown reason, I always thought in my own mind that I'd made this video a couple of years ago, and obviously I haven't. So I've got round to doing it. It's a pie. And pies were on my mind this week because, of course, I told you last week in the UK it was National Pie Week, and so back in England I used to make lots and lots of pies, especially that particular week. So pies were on my mind, and this recipe came up in the requests again, and it's for a chicken and leek pie. Now, this pie recipe that I'm making in the video is quite a large family pie. But if there's only one or two of you, don't worry. On my website, if you go to the recipe on my website, most of the recipes have a little facility where it tells you how many people it will serve, say 5 or 6. If you change that number, which you can do on your computer or on your phone, you can change that number to 1, 2, 5, 6, whatever you want, and instantly all the ingredients will change, telling you how much you will need of each of the ingredient for the number of people you want to serve. So that's a nice little addition to my website for you. So if it says it's for 6 people, don't worry, don't ignore it. Go to the website, adjust the number, and it'll adjust the ingredients for you. Okay, so this is a simple recipe. I've got no additions to it. It's the only thing it's got inside it is leek, chicken and chicken stock with a few sprigs of herbs. That's all. If you want to add other things to it, you can. Some people put bacon lardons in, some people add an onion, some people put all sorts of things in. I don't do that. This is the simplest pie you're ever likely to make. Okay, so let's get on with it. So the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to make the pastry. Now, my arthritis isn't marvellous today, so I'm making the pastry not by hand in my food processor. So in the food processor I've got 350 grams of plain flour. I'm going to add to that some fat. Now, the fat I'm using, the fat's entirely up to you. I'm using half lard, half butter. You can use half lard, half margarine. You can use all margarine or all butter. It doesn't make any difference. I'm just doing it as I've made it in my bakeries that we've owned for the past almost 60 years. So it's half lard and half butter is mine, and that's going in. And if you're using a food processor like this, I suggest you use very, very cold fat. That helps it stop sticking around the bowl when you're making it. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is going to try and just make that into sort of breadcrumby like looking things. Okay. There we go. Not switched on. It won't take long just to break the fat up. We don't want to do it for too long. The next thing that's going in is the salt. Half a teaspoon of salt. Oh, sorry, I didn't tell you the fat content. The fat is 200 grams. It will be on the screen when I'm making the recipe. And in is going 1 beaten egg. Now, depending on the size of your egg, because I know egg sizes are different around the world, if it's too dry when you've done this, you can add a tablespoon of cold water, but that's entirely up to you. I don't think you should need to do that, really. It's just one of those things. People use different size eggs and then write to me and say, oh, mine didn't work. We need to just keep blending this now until it just forms a ball in the machine. see it's just starting to go now, so it will be a few seconds. That's enough. We don't need to do it anymore. What I'm going to do now is take it out of here. I'll just move the machine out of the way. Take the blade out, which is always a dangerous thing, and I'm going to tip that onto my work surface. Okay, like that. Just a little bit stuck there in the corner. Now you see it's hardly stuck in the bowl at all because of me using very, very cold butter. If you use warm or room temperature butter or fat, it'll stick like anything round here when it starts whizzing round, okay? So all we're going to do now, we don't want to knead this like we knead bread. We want to push it together, that's all. You don't knead pastry, you knead bread dough, because when you're kneading, you're developing the protein. That's the gluten in the flour, making it strong to hold the bread up, the structure. We don't need that with pastry, we need it very short, so it's very, very easy to eat and crumbly. So we're just pushing it into a ball like that. And then when that's done, I'm going to cut it into sort of like thirds. Well, I'm not cutting it into thirds, I measure it into thirds, and I'm going to use 1/3, and I'm going to keep that just for the lid, and I think that'll do fine. Right, I'm going to wrap this in cling film now, and that needs to go in the refrigerator, not necessarily to cool down, but what it needs to do is to relax, because all that churning round in there is upset the gluten structure of it, and we want it to settle back down, so we've got a nice short crust pastry. So the first thing I'm going to do for this chicken and leek pie is I'm going to cut up the leeks. Now I'm only using the white of the part of the leek because the leeks I bought, they were a bit grotty, and unfortunately the green side bit wasn't usable. So I'm going to slice these leeks up. You can cut those however you want. I mean, sometimes people cut them in half like this and then chop them. You can do exactly as you want, it doesn't make a difference. As long as there's not great big chunks, that's the main thing. I'll just rattle through these and then I've got the equivalent here to 2 full leeks, so that gives you some idea how much to use. And don't forget, the quantities for the ingredients will all be underneath the video when I finish doing it. When I finish making it, they'll be listed underneath and on the website as well. Okay. I'll just put those in a bowl and then we'll carry on. So I'm going to cut up the chicken now. I'm using chicken thighs here. My chicken thighs are boneless but have the skin on. You can do exactly what you want. You can use chicken breasts if you want. It doesn't make any difference. So I'm just going to cut them into nice chunks. Now you decide what size chunks you want them in your pie. Some people like fine little pieces, some people like nice chunky pieces. I like a nice chunk of chicken when I'm having a chicken pie. I don't like one of these, similar to some I saw in the UK once, shop bought pies, and it was like chicken soup inside, and that was all it was. It was useless. So I'm cutting these up quite chunky. You can see the size what I'm doing there. There you are. I think you can see that okay. Now this is going to make a decent sized family pie. So if you look on my website, when I get the recipe up there, I have on my website a little calculator which you can decide how many people you want to feed with these recipes. So if it says this recipe is for 6 people, you can adjust where it says 6 to whatever number you want, 3 or 4 or 5, and it instantly will change the ingredients to tell you how much you want of everything. Okay? So I've done that for you on the website. So there's the chicken, and I'm just going to get my hands clean now, and we're going to start doing the cooking. Right, just light the cooker. We're on a medium heat, and I'm just going to put in about a tablespoon of oil and a little butter. And the first thing I'm going to cook in here are the leeks. Sorry. Just get that melting down a little bit. Then I'll get the leeks in. Now be careful with the leeks. We don't want to overcook brown them too much, or overcook them and brown them. We need to just saute them down. We just want to saute them down so that they're nice and soft, that's all. We don't want to go browning them. Now I've got the 500 mils of chicken stock in here, warming, and I'm going to put in the chicken, and I'm going to poach the chicken now for 15 minutes. I'm going to poach this chicken for 15 minutes, and whilst it's in there, I'm going to put some herbs. Now you don't have to put herbs in if you don't want. It's perfectly alright without. I'm going to put in some rosemary. You can see that in the camera there or not. Yes, there you are. Some rosemary. Just a few. And some thyme. Just 3 little sprigs of thyme going in there. Just give that a stir. That'll just give it some. Now remember, I haven't put any salt or pepper in here yet because I'm using a stock cube, and there is salt in every stock cube you buy. If you buy ready-made stock in a carton or in a jar, sometimes it has salt, sometimes it doesn't. You'll have to read the label. But if you use stock cubes, they always have quite a lot of salt in them, so be careful. So I'm poaching this now for 15 minutes. So what I've done now is I've poached the chicken for 15 minutes, I've strained it, but I've kept back 250 mils of the stock that I cooked the chicken in. And that's mixed in the moment, when this sauce, with 250 mils of milk. But first of all, we're going to make the roux. And this is making the sauce. We're going to put in the butter first. So as soon as the butter starts frothing like that, we're going to pop in the flour. Now it's 30 grams of butter, 30 grams of flour, equal quantities, just like you're making a white sauce. And just stir that round until we get a nice paste. We don't want to colour this at all, we don't want to burn it or anything like that. Just gently round until it makes a nice paste like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start and add the liquid, which is 250 mils of the stock and 250 mils of milk. Put a little in there and stir it round. This is so we don't get any lumps. Do it gently to start with, like that. That's it. A little more now. This will be the nice juicy sauce inside the pie. Just go around until all the milk's been absorbed, or the milk and stock should I say, and then add some more. You can add a little more each time, little larger quantity. But don't put any more in until this has been absorbed. And keep stirring, otherwise we'll finish up with a lumpy sauce. We don't want to do that. We just want lumps of chicken, that's all. Not lumpy sauce. There we are. That's smoothing out nicely. We're going to bring back the leeks and we're going to pop in the chicken. Now at this stage I'm going to season it. I'm going to add some salt and some pepper. Now be careful with the salt. Remember what I said, if you're using a stock cube you will need to use a lot less salt. There's nice salt and pepper in there. I like black pepper. And we'll just get that cracking. Just warm it through now. And as soon as that's warmed through, we're going to add the sauce to it. Now I'm going to add the sauce. Now just keep cooking that down now until the sauce thickens. If you find it's too liquid, just reduce it on a lowish heat like I'm doing and it will thicken up as it goes. Now whilst this is cooling down, once it's ready we'll have to leave it to cool because you can't put a hot filling into a pastry case. So while we have to let that cool right down now to room temperature or even below, if you want to pop it in the fridge overnight if you want, but it has to be cool. And when we've done this, we'll then get the pie case ready to go. This is reducing nicely now. This little part of it is essential because don't forget we only cooked the chicken for 15 minutes before in the stock. Now it wants cooking a little more because it's only in the oven for 30 minutes in the pie and it takes a while for that heat to get through to the chicken, so it won't do much cooking inside. You're really cooking the pastry once it goes in the oven for 30 minutes. So this is essential just to get this down to the right consistency. So we come to doing the pastry case now while the filling's cooling. So I'm going to get some flour on my board. Now I've had the pastry in the fridge chilling down, well, relaxing actually. First of all I want to just mark this so I know how big the dish is going to be. So there we are. Let's get cracking with it. When you've had pastry in the fridge for a while, lift it out and let it get to room temperature first, but don't start rolling it straight away, we'll get a lot of cracks in it. Okay, so we'll just gently try and ease that out now. Nice even pressure, turn the pastry. Again, even pressure. Okay. Remember, this is short crust pastry, so it is going to crack a little. We can't help that, but there we are. Just push that together where it's got a hole in it, and I think that's going to do us. There we are. Lovely. So we need to roll this onto the rolling pin. And then roll it over onto the pie dish. Now when you're doing pies like this, if you get little cracks, don't worry about it too much, because don't forget it's going to be inside the pie. We're not going to be seeing where you've repaired it or anything like that. Just gently push it down into the sides like this. There we are. Just so there's no air in it. That's the main thing. These little bits have fallen off naturally, so we don't need to trim that. Just, there we go. Now we'll put that to one side while we roll out the lid. Because we need to have all that ready before we put the filling in. Now we've got the pastry all ready to go for the lid. We'll just roll it onto the pin so it's all ready to go. And I'll just leave that to one side, then we'll get the filling. And off we go. Now the filling is nicely cooled, and you can see it's beautiful and creamy. I think you can see that in the camera. It's very, very nice. Get every bit of filling out, because we want a well-filled pie. What we don't want when we make pies, and a lot of people make that mistake, is they don't put enough filling in, and then the pastry all sinks down to meet the filling, which is not good. You need to keep a filling a little raised up in the middle like that, if you can see what I'm doing. You see that? Now once we've got that sorted, we need to take a drop of water and just wet round the edge of the pastry edge there. And then we're going to take the rolling pin, which has the paste already on it for the lid, roll the whole thing over like that. See? And we're just going to tap it down around the edge where the moisture is, just so to stick it down properly. Then I'm going to take the back of an ordinary table knife, the back, not the sharp bit, and I'm going to trim it right round like this. It's quite heavy on my hand, is that? And my hand's not very steady today, I'm afraid. So there we've got the pie. Now, how you crimp this round the edge is entirely up to you. There's no rules and regulations. If you can't crimp it properly, you can go around it with a knife and just do these little bits like this. Or you can use a fork, or you can use your fingers like I'm going to do. Finger and thumb. Like that. That's made a nice crimp round. Now what we need to do now is we're going to egg wash the top. Egg wash the top all over. Now a little tip here, if you're going to cut vent holes in the top of a pie to let the steam out, don't do it until after you've egg washed, because 10 to 1, when you go to put the egg wash on, you'll block the holes up that you've already just cut. So don't do any vent holes until you've finished egg washing it all over. And make sure your egg wash is even in all the little crimps there, because otherwise it won't look as nice. We like things to look nice as well as taste nice. Now that's right over there. Now I'm going to just take a little bit of the pastry and I'm just going to put a little decoration on top, that's all. Just a little. A little decoration. I'm going to cut a couple of leaves, just freehand. I'm not using a pastry cutter or anything for them, just freehand. With the back of the knife, put the veins on for the leaf, like that. Can you see that? I can't get it near the camera lens. There we are. Okay. And then we'll have a little strip and make a nice little flower, little rose or something like that. Little strip like that. And just roll it up. There. I'm going to cut the bottom off, push it in, and stick that there. And the two leaves, I'm going to put them on there like that. And then with this knife I'm just going to make a little vent there and a little vent there. I'm not cutting anything, I'm just pushing the knife into it. Now that's going to go in the oven now for 30 minutes. And remember, we're just cooking the pastry because all the interior is cooked. So when that's nice and golden, make sure it's 30 minutes. And to make sure you don't have a soggy bottom, preheat your oven to 200 degrees and make sure your oven shelf is in there as well. I use a solid oven shelf, not a wire one. And that way, when I put this really onto the hot oven shelf, then the heat is hitting the bottom of the pie straight away and you won't get a soggy bottom at all. So here we are then, all ready to cut into and see what it's like inside. Let's just keep our fingers crossed. Well, there it is. I'll just open it up and let you have a look how juicy and succulent it is inside. It really is a very, very nice pie. I hope you've enjoyed the video. This is all I have time for now, and if you haven't subscribed, press the subscribe button, and when the little bell appears, if you click that, YouTube will tell you every time I put up a new video. If you've any suggestions, questions, or comments, leave them in the comment section underneath. I do read every single one and I try to answer as many as I possibly can. So this is Mr. Paul saying bye for now, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!